Hello, everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Mindfulness group programming. I am going to introduce myself. My name is Sarah. I'm a registered nurse working for the Thames Valley Family Health Team, and I'm so excited that you're here today.
Yes, and I am Cody Cunningham. I'm a social worker with the Thames Valley Family Health Team, and yes, we're really excited to be able to go through this introduction to mindfulness material today. So, just pulling up the agenda to get started today, we're seeing it's going into the beginning of our session. We'll be defining stress and talking a bit about what it is that is exactly, how things like mindfulness may be able to help you manage that stress that we've defined, and talking about, what are the benefits of doing those sorts of activities for your mental health. We talk about the process of practicing mindfulness as part of an everyday practice, both informally and formally, and talking about incorporate that into your daily life. Go specifically into some of those practices in more detail, and then we share resources to help you become more familiar with how to engage in mindfulness for the betterment of your well-being. There will be some more material to come around guidelines. So Sarah, you can feel free to jump into that.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. So before we jump into the content for today, there's just a couple of sort of group guidelines that I want to bring up. As you are just watching this recording, it is still very important to try to minimize any distraction. So really just inviting you at this time, if you're able to put your phones away or put them on silent, really just to encourage you to stay focused and give your full attention during the session today. And because it is a video and a recording, of course, you can pause the video at any time. We always encourage you to take a break, especially if you're new to learning about mindfulness. It can be a lot to learn all at once, it can be a lot to digest. So please pause at any time to take a break. If you need to get up, even to stretch or use the washroom, really just so that you can come back and refocus on the content. And then lastly, the last point is just to really give activities a try. So in the second half of today's session, we are going to be doing actually a couple of activities. We're going to guide you through some exercises for you to try while you're watching or listening. So really just encouraging you to give your best attempt at them, especially if it's something that's new for you, remembering that it might not feel comfortable at first for you to be getting into these kind of guided meditations. But really, it might take you a few times of trying this out to really determine if it's for you or not. And it's okay if it's not for you, but that's really where we encourage you to try a couple of times. And having said that, all activities are just an invitation. So it is, of course, up to you whether you do engage in them or not. And if at any point you feel overwhelmed during an exercise or an activity, or it's increasing your feeling of anxiety or stress, then of course you're welcome to stop the exercise and either skip it or come back to it at another time. And I'll hand it back over to Cody to jump us or dive us into some content.
Okay. So to get started, let's talk about stress. Let's talk about what it means to experience that. It's that dreaded S word. Is it a friend? Is it a foe? Oh, I wonder what everybody thinks. Everybody as human beings, we all experience stress. We all experience that as a survival response to what we perceive as threatening. Stress is around us all of the time. Even joyful events and positive activities such as moving or weddings or the birth of a child can cause stress. Uh, Everybody handles it differently. We all know someone likely who appears to be able to handle a great deal of stress when facing a variety of challenges. And it can even be beneficial. It helps us to stay alive in the face of danger. It helps us to stay motivated and engaged. However, when it's chronic, when it becomes overwhelming, it can become a problem. So we can probably, think of examples of many stressful events. But it's interesting to think about that our brains actually possess a bias to negativity, to pick up on negative events. And this negativity bias has helped us to survive as a species. However, it has a substantial downside. It creates challenges like increased anxiety and depression if it's not regulated. Strategies like the mindfulness tools we'll be talking about today can help us so that we aren't controlled by this negativity bias, and we can balance our thoughts, and we can balance these positive and neutral events as well. We find that a lot of our stress can be self-inflicted through our thoughts, especially rumination. Rumination can be described almost like an emotional salad spinner, where your thoughts and worries spin around and around and around in our brains, with an average of over 60,000 thoughts a day or more. And all those thoughts may evoke emotions. And it's really easy to understand then how the mind could become cluttered and feel unfocused, feel overwhelmed, which could probably be very familiar to anybody who's coming onto this video today. But the great news is mindfulness can help to free us from these traps of rumination. They can help to shift us from just reacting to being. And they will allow us to take in all the information that an experience can offer us before we can turn off autopilot mode, so we can become more purposeful in our day-to-day choices and help accept experiences as being, what they are rather than what we want them to be. We can be open. We can be curious. So we can help all of the parts of our brain work together as an integrated whole. We can surf the waves of emotional intensity and help to relate to ourselves and others with warmth and compassion and kindness. So for an example, let's take a look at this handout about how we respond to stress. So as we can see here, as we follow the arrows down the left side of the diagram, you'll see that it demonstrates what happens when the alarm system is triggered. Our body will go into fight or flight response, which releases adrenaline to help stay in control. Your muscles are going to tense. Your heart is going to beat faster. And the breathing and your perspiration, which is sweat, is going to increase. Your stomach might clench, your eyes will dilate, and you could even feel nauseous or queasy. The body will then attempt to right itself. It'll secrete hormones that will work really well in the short term. But if the stress response becomes long-term or chronic, as I mentioned before, then those defenses may eventually break down. We can start experiencing negative outcomes like blood pressure issues, sleep issues, chronic pain, anxious thoughts, even mood disorders. And they can in turn lead to maladaptive ways of coping with stress and even disease. However, we do have the power to change this. Our greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another, as stated by William James. And we may not be able to direct the wind, but we can adjust our sails, by Thomas S. Monson. So how does all this work? How is all this supposed to work? So if we follow the right side of the diagram, as we come around to the mindful response, we observe that by becoming aware of those sensations, those thoughts, and those emotions, we can learn to recognize when we are in our optimal safe zone of arousal. But when we start going into hyperarousal or hypoarousal states of fight or flight or freeze, and by giving this awareness, it helps us to have the opportunity that we can reframe. We can ground, we can pause and distract, we can help to refocus and then let go of those stresses, including helping to reverse or shift the fight or flight reaction to help calm our parasympathetic nervous system and promote relaxation. Now, as we get deeper into mindfulness, we can talk about how to help to manage stress and how to help to practice it. So, yeah, so we're going to talk a bit more now into mindfulness material. Sarah, feel free to take that away. Thank you.
All right, so thanks, Cody. That I know that was a lot of information on stress, but it's really important to just have a basic understanding of how stress impacts our bodies so that we can choose to use mindfulness as a tool to manage it. So I'm just going to screen share an image here. So I'm just pulling this up. This might look familiar to you. It's actually the image that was at the top of the agenda, and you'll have access to this image from the attachment with all the handouts. So I just invite you to take a moment right now to just pause and look at this image and just kind of reflect on the two sides, right? Just reflecting and maybe just whatever comes up for you. I like the music notes on the left hand side. I feel like there's always a song or two that's stuck in my head, but who else can relate, right? Like there's just so much that our minds can just we feel so busy with endless thoughts looping and looping and looping. And then when we go to the other side, right, there's the dog that's just being and it's just observing whatever's right in front of them, right? If any of you have any pets, I'm sure you can relate to that sense of their presence. So, yeah, just wanted to share that for you to take a moment to reflect on maybe which one you would like to embody or which one you would like to live from. So I'll stop sharing here. So I'm going to talk about what is mindfulness to start. And everyone has experienced moments of mindfulness, whether you're aware of them or not, or whether you're aware that you have experienced it or not. Mindfulness really is a state of non judgmental awareness of what is happening in the present moment. Okay, so it includes awareness of your thoughts, awareness of your feelings, awareness of your senses, both internal senses and your external senses, from a place of openness, curiosity, and compassion. Mindfulness helps us be more present and engaged in everyday life rather than being lost in all those thoughts, right? That busy sort of thought bubble that we saw in the image. We're often get caught up in maybe past memories or we get sucked into future worries. And this is often a really large part of our stress, right? So mindfulness can be a great tool to use as a coping strategy for this stress. Now, Cody mentioned this, but our brains have this negativity bias, right? It's our tendency to pick up on negative events all around us. And this can be quite frustrating. I'm sure some of you have felt like, why am I always focused on like worst case scenario, right? But remembering that this has been important for our survival, right? Because the more aware we are of dangers or even potential for danger, the quicker we can adapt and avoid them in the future in order to remain safe or get us back to safety. But it's when that feeling of always focusing on the negative is left unregulated that we are challenged with feelings like anxiety and depression. So mindfulness strategies, they offer us skills so that we're not controlled by this negativity bias all the time, and we can balance our thoughts with maybe positive or even neutral events or feelings as well. So again, just remembering that image that Cody pulled up, mindfulness will shift us from that automatic reacting and doing more to that responding and being. It allows you just to have more of a mindful pause before you choose how to act, right? Because we can stop and take all of the information that an experience offers us before we act or how we choose to respond. It really allows us to turn off that autopilot mode so that we can be more purposeful in our daily choices and accept each experience just as it is rather than how we want it to be. Right. So, again, we're inviting in this approach of openness and curiosity when it comes to mindfulness. So there is some research around mindfulness, and it shows us how practicing mindfulness actually engages parts of your brain that helps you regulate emotions and create a sense of safety, right? And this happens by helping all of the brain work together as more of an integrated whole rather than just one part of our brain coming online. So this helps us deal with emotional intensity and relate to ourselves and others with more kindness, with more warmth and compassion. So I'm going to just share another one of the handouts that you will have access to refer back to. So I'm just going to talk about the two main components of mindfulness, right? And these are awareness and acceptance. So number one, right, awareness. This is just noticing your thoughts, your feelings, maybe any physical sensations as they're happening in your body, noticing what's happening around you and within you. So the goal here is not to clear your mind of thinking. It's just to become aware of the many thoughts and feelings that are happening moment to moment rather than getting lost in them. So this is like the opposite of being on autopilot or forgetting how you got home if you're on autopilot. You may have heard this referred to as taking sort of the seat of awareness or just sort of witnessing your experience, witnessing your thoughts. You can think of this as imagining clouds floating by, like all of your thoughts are just on clouds as they float by in your awareness. And then the second component is acceptance. So the goal is just to notice the thoughts and the feelings and the sensations in a non-judgmental manner. So this would be like the opposite of resisting your experience. We're accepting what is happening moment by moment. And of course, there are many benefits to mindfulness. So I'm just going to make sure you can still see the screen here. But so some of the benefits, as it says, so it reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression. It can lead to greater satisfaction in our relationships. It can help to improve our memory and focus and mental processing speed. It can help to reduce that rumination, right? So that feeling of repetitively going over a thought or a problem over and over again, like you're stuck in a loop of the same thoughts. It can help to reduce that. It can help to improve our ability to adapt to stressful situations. It can help to improve our ability to manage emotions. It also can enhance our sense of self awareness. It can also boost our immunity or our immune system, could decrease our pain and inflammation, improve sleep, improve well being, can boost happiness, boost social life. There's so many benefits that are really endless here. Sorry, I just lost. So there are practices on this handout as well that you can review in your own time, but there's some really great grounding exercises that you can really start to put this into practice and see the benefits with time. And as I mentioned, there is scientific evidence plus more emerging to support the many benefits of mindfulness. So, for anyone, again, that's interested in a little bit more of the science behind it, there's a concept called neuroplasticity. So, this is essentially the brain's ability to rewire neural pathways happening in our brain. So, there's emerging evidence that mindfulness meditations, they can cause these neuroplastic changes in the actual structure and function of the brain regions involved in the regulation of our attention, emotion, and self awareness. So I know that that's a lot of information, but now I'm going to talk about practically how we can actually apply mindfulness into our daily life. So mindfulness, the nice thing about this is that it can be practiced in so many different ways. Just going to stop sharing here. Can be practiced in so many different ways. So both formal ways, there are formal ways of practicing mindfulness and informal ways. So a formal practice would just mean taking time out of each day to maybe intentionally sit or stand or lie down and focus on things like your breath, maybe your body sensations, sounds, or other senses, bringing awareness to your thoughts and emotions. So, a couple of examples of what a formal practice might look like would be like a mindful meditation, which can be either guided or self directed, maybe some mindful walking or mindful movement, right? Like yoga or Qigong, Tai Chi, those kinds of practices. Or like using our five senses while on a walk, or maybe while you're taking a bath, you're just tuning into all of the senses in your current experience. And then there is, of course, informal mindfulness. So this just means bringing a state of mindfulness into your daily lives and everyday activities. So again, the great thing about this is it doesn't need to take any extra time out of your day to practice mindfulness. It really can, with practice, just be a way of being, just be kind of a state that you learn to get better and better at doing, no matter what task or experience you're having. So, for example, informal mindfulness might be mindful eating. So, when you're just sitting down for a meal and you're really tuning into what you're tasting and the texture of your food and the how it looks on your plate. You might incorporate mindfulness just while you're driving. So just being aware of everything around you and what's happening within you as you're driving. Maybe just spending time outdoors or with family. And there's so many examples that you could practice mindfulness while you're showering or doing any type of chore, like washing dishes or washing your hands. Whenever you're spending time with loved ones, really listening to somebody speak rather than thinking about what you're going to say next or how you're going to respond, right? Maybe while listening to music or just taking a few deep breaths. So there is another handout I will review. This is again just more examples on how we can incorporate it into our daily lives. Just give me a moment. So there's lots of text on here, but I will just review these. So, for example, when you first wake up in the morning, how many of you just sort of jump right out of bed, or maybe your alarm goes off and you're already rushing and really going on autopilot as you start your day? So an invitation might be before you get out of bed, before you jump out of bed so quickly, it's just to bring your attention to your breathing. So maybe just taking 5 mindful deep breaths and observing the sensation of those breaths, and then getting up and going on with your morning routine. Just notice, you could just try that maybe tomorrow morning and see how that feels, or maybe changes the energy that you're starting your day with. Another thing might be just to notice changes in your posture, right? So just being aware of how your body and mind are feeling when you're moving from lying down to sitting or to standing or even walking. Or if you're sitting in a chair or at a desk right now, just maybe rolling your shoulders back and seeing how your back is feeling. Just notice every time that you're making any kind of transition throughout your day. Another thing, so this is to invoke the sense of sound, right? Whenever you hear a phone ring, maybe, or a bird singing, or a train passing by, or somebody laughing, or car horn, the wind, the sound of a door closing, any sound can almost like trigger you to remember to be mindful and just take in that sound again with non-judgment, because sometimes there are certain sounds maybe we don't really like or that we're resisting hearing. So just trying to practice that component of mindfulness of acceptance, really listening and just letting that practice sort of keep you awake, right? Throughout the day, again, just taking any moment where you can bring your attention back to your breath. So even just as you're going from maybe task to task, or you're talking from one person to the next, just observing your breath in between all of those moments throughout your day. As I mentioned before, maybe when you're eating or drinking something, just taking a moment to breathe before you start digging in and you start eating so quickly or rushing off to the next thing. Just really taking a time to connect maybe to where you got this food, maybe all of the hands that it passed through to be prepared for it to be on your plate. And another point would be to notice your body, your physical body, whenever you're walking or standing, just taking, this is going back to posture, right? But really paying attention to where you're making contact with the ground on your feet, or maybe the surface underneath you if you're sitting, and just noticing if you're kind of rushing around from one thing to the next. So just really noticing your body, bringing awareness to your listening or when you're talking, right? Can you listen without agreeing or disagreeing or liking or disliking, right? That's a lot of like the judgment can happen when we're interacting with other people. Whenever you're waiting in line is another great example. So I'm sure there's many moments in our lives where we're either waiting at the grocery store or maybe we're stuck in traffic. I consider that sort of like waiting in line in a sense. You're just kind of waiting and there's not really much else to do. A lot of us have gotten in the habit, right, of pulling out our phones if we're ever in a moment of having to wait for someone or wait for something. So just an invitation, right? Rather than being so quick or maybe automatically pulling out your phone or distracting yourself, just again, come back, notice how you're standing, notice your breathing if it's feeling really shallow or really quick, noticing the contact of your feet on the floor or how your body's feeling, right? Or if you're feeling impatient, especially in traffic. And again, coming back to the body, if there's any feelings of tightness or tension throughout your day, just seeing if you can take a moment to roll your shoulders down and letting go of any excess tension that you're storing, maybe in the hips or the back, maybe doing a little bit of a stretch every so often, maybe every half hour, hour in your day. And then again, just bringing attention to your daily activities, just even brushing your teeth, washing your hands, maybe brushing your hair, just doing any sort of task of everyday life. Just like we can bring mindfulness to any one of these activities, right? Just feeling the temperature of the water on our hands when we're washing them, or how our brush feels on our teeth, maybe the flavor of the toothpaste, like getting really specific into each one of these moments. And then maybe before going to sleep at night, taking those last few minutes to come back to the breath, that maybe ending just the way that you started your day with 5 mindful breaths and closing out your day. So these are lots of examples that you can try. And this is really just to highlight that it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It really can just be an easy way to start living in a state of mindfulness. And of course, we'll forget, we'll get caught up in things, we'll go on autopilot, and that's not something to beat yourself up about. Like it will happen. It happens to me, it happens to Cody, and the practice is how quickly can we just keep coming back to the present? How many maybe we can shorten that amount of time before we remember to practice our mindfulness and just be fully present. It'll do such a service to not only yourself but to everyone around you. So really encouraging you to try one of these maybe today, maybe even right now as you're listening and watching this video, you can practice mindfulness, how your body's feeling, your posture, or maybe one of these you'd like to start tomorrow, just anything that you can do to start practicing. So we'll stop sharing there. And that is it for the mindfulness piece. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit more about it and getting into some practices, but I'll hand it back over to you, Cody.
Very well said. Yes, the ubiquity and ease of use of mindfulness in a bunch of different situations is one of the great things about it. And so for our next exercise, we are going to be applying the mindfulness concepts to an exercise that will involve you holding an object in your hands and touching that. So we'll give you a moment now to go and collect a small object for the upcoming exercise. Um, so feel free to come and do that. You're welcome to pause the video if you have to take a look around for something and then to return to us. Okay, so now that you have your object with you, pick the object up in your hands to begin the mindful touch exercise. Start to become inquisitive and curious about this object. With this item in your hands, start to explore your senses. Focus on this object as though you've never seen anything like it before, as though you're seeing it for the first time ever. We give the example of small children, babies, when they see something that awe, that wonder about something unfamiliar, and kind of taking that into account. So when we focus on seeing this object, you're going to scan it. You're going to explore every part of it. Turn it around with your fingers. What color is it? Notice, are there any marks? Are there any folds? Does it reflect the light or become darker in some way? Does it have any character or imperfections? Anything that you notice? And when you're exploring the texture of this object, feeling any softness feeling any hardness, any smoothness or coarseness of the texture of the object? What's the temperature of the object? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it neutral, room temperature? Maybe it started in one temperature and it's, started cold and becoming warmer. And while you're doing this, if any thoughts might arise, like, why am I doing this weird exercise? And how on earth is this going to help me? Or I don't even know if I like this object. Then see if we can acknowledge these thoughts. Let them be and try to bring your awareness back to the object. Please be patient with yourself. It's very normal for these sorts of thoughts to come up. Now, take the object beneath your nose and carefully smell it. What does this object smell like? Is it a pleasant or an unpleasant smell? Maybe it doesn't smell like anything. Bring the object to your ear. Roll it around in your fingers, maybe squeeze it if possible. Is there any sound coming from it that you can hear? Can you move it around or manipulate it in some way to make a sound? And is it a familiar sound that you've heard before, or a new sound that you're just hearing now for the first time? Perhaps placing the object down in front of you and looking at it from a different angle. What's its size in proximity to where you're sitting and where it's sitting in your space? Take that in for a moment, that it may be getting smaller as it gets further away, and it obviously looks much larger closer up. And then thanking yourself for taking the time to engage in this mindful exercise today. Now, as we conclude, as a reminder, another way that you could take this exercise a step further is by using food to engage in what we call mindful eating, to explore the taste side more and more slowly, in addition to the senses that we already had a chance to cover earlier in the exercise. So that brings us into the foundations, the key elements of mindfulness. Some of these, as I begin to talk about them, might feel kind of familiar because they will have come up in the exercise we just practiced. So I am going to briefly share my screen that is going to go into the different attitudes of mindfulness. And I'm also going to quickly talk to you a bit about those. And I'm also going to talk to you a bit about, it says the 7 key attitudes of mindfulness. But as a reminder, there actually are indeed 9 key attitudes of mindfulness, which I'll be speaking to. Now, this piece that you're seeing here that I have shared, this is going to be available to you in the resource link that Sarah had mentioned earlier. So as a reminder, kind of as we started from last time, one of the components of that is the beginner's mind. The idea that you are willing to see everything from, as it was for the first time, as we did with the exercise a minute ago. We often let our thoughts and beliefs about what we know get in the way of seeing things as they are. We take the ordinary for granted often. We don't always notice the richness and the beauty of, say, an object or even the present moment. And so when we notice that, we try to cultivate the beginner's mind. It's a gentle approach full of curiosity, free of expectations, free of any associations from the past, free of judgments, free of comparisons. It creates an openness, and it helps to enable us to be receptive to what is unfolding, open to the possibilities to not get stuck or get attached. And everybody's experience will ultimately be different. Non-judging, for instance, means being an impartial observer to witness whatever it is that you're experiencing. To do so requires that you become aware of a constant stream of thoughts, judgments, inner and outer experiences, as well as your reactions to those. And that means not making positive or negative evaluations of what's happening. You simply observe it. You may be surprised at how many thoughts you have and how often you may judge those thoughts or even your experiences. When we're in that autopilot, as we've talked about, we aren't always aware of our internal world and how that might impact our well being. And the goal of this mindfulness exercise is to help to cultivate that awareness. Step out of your autopilot, give yourself that freedom, and choose where you want to put your focus and how you want to respond. Now, one of the next components is patience. Patience is a form of wisdom, the wisdom to understand and to accept that some things unfold in their own time and they cannot be rushed, they cannot be forced. One of the components is trust. Trust in yourself, trust in this process. Allow things to unfold, allow them to flow naturally. There's no need to control, there's no need to compare, there's no need to be competitive in your practice. Don't force it. Trust that things are happening the way that they are supposed to. Acceptance. It relates to seeing things as they are without resistance or wanting to change the experience. Completely and fully acknowledging, when these thoughts are coming up and accepting them, accepting the feelings, accepting the sensation, and trusting that you are where you need to be at this moment. We only have the present. The past is gone and the future isn't here yet. Accepting what is happening in the moment without trying to resist it or change it helps us to release that. We can let it go and we can move forward. One of the other principles is non-striving. Now, almost everything we do has a purpose. We have to get something. We have to go somewhere. We're constantly in a state of doing. But being is the state of not necessarily doing anything and allowing your mind and body to be in the same place. Letting your experience unfold. Now, sometimes mindfulness practice will be about relaxation and quieting your mind, and other times it may not. Different practices may be different. No two may be exactly the same. But if we're simply allowing and accepting that anything and everything that arises in the moment, and without needing to strive for a particular outcome, without having necessarily to need a goal. Letting go, right? Non-attachment. This is vital to mindfulness. Our minds are going to want to try to hold on to things or even make meaning of our thoughts and our stories, our sensations, our emotions. And when we're mindful, we try not to allow those thoughts and sensations to have any meaning attached to them. We try to have them pass on by as though they're floating on a cloud, as we visualized before, or as cars passing by on a road. One of the other concepts is gratitude. Now, increasing your sense of well-being by focused on gratitude, you simply focus on what you're grateful for. It doesn't need to really be anything grand. In fact, simply focusing on simple things that you appreciate, like a pet or a loved one, or even being in nature or seeing the sun, can help to cultivate positive feelings. Our thoughts and what we focus on, they affect how we feel. Adapting an attitude of gratitude boosts our immune system. It helps improve our overall health, as studies have suggested. And other studies suggest that who we think about, who we talk about, what we talk about, and what we write about, they can help us, when they're focused on gratitude, have lower levels of stress and are associated with lower levels of depressed mood. Now, one of the other components is generosity. Being kind and generous towards oneself and others can have a positive impact on your well-being. To experiment with, giving yourself the gift of patience, for instance, giving yourself the gift of compassion or even of acceptance. And then noticing what that feels like. What does it feel like when we give patience, compassion, and acceptance to another? When we consciously let go of necessarily getting anything in return, you may find that rather than exhausting yourself and exhausting your resources, you may find that you're able to actually replenish them. So as we come from the foundations of mindfulness here, we'll be moving into a 3-minute breathing space to get into a different component of breathing as mindful meditation. So I'll pass this over to Sarah.
Thanks, Cody. Yeah, so just keeping in mind those attitudes or foundations of mindfulness as we go into this next exercise. And don't worry that you will have access to all that information that Cody just talked about in the link for the attachments and handouts for this session. So now, yeah, we're going to be doing two different practices. So I will be leading you through this first one, and then Cody will be leading you through our final exercise. So this one's called a 3-minute breathing space. It's a pretty brief exercise, but I'm just going to invite you all now to just take a moment to really get comfortable in your space. So again, just a reminder, if you need to pause the video and maybe use the washroom or grab a drink of water or a snack, please go ahead and do that first and then come back and join and yeah, just so that you can really settle in and focus in on this next exercise. So this practice, it's a short breathing exercise that allows you to step out of automatic mode and reconnect into the present moment like we've been discussing. So just getting really comfortable now, just maybe finding an upright position. You can do this laying down as well if you prefer, but finding just an upright or seated posture works as well. And I'll invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that, or just soften your gaze and kind of focus on a spot in front of you, just with a gentle gaze. Now, take a deep breath to bring yourself into the present moment. So, really just starting to inhale through your nose. Long exhale out your nose or your mouth. Just noticing whatever you are experiencing right now. Notice any sensations. Maybe there's a bit of discomfort or tension somewhere in your body. Notice your feet on the ground if they're making contact with the floor or if you're sitting or laying. Notice whatever surface you're on right now. Notice your clothes against your body and the air against the skin. What's the temperature of the air on your skin? Now notice whatever is in your mind, whatever thoughts are here, and as best you can, just observe your thoughts as they are in your mind right now. No need to change them or get rid of them. Just start to become the witness of any stories or scenarios playing out in your mind right now. Now notice whatever you are feeling emotionally. Again, don't try to change it, but just notice how you are feeling. And now bring your attention to your breath. Just noticing the rise and fall of your stomach and your chest as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Notice the cool air flowing in through your nose as you inhale and the warm air as you exhale. As you continue to breathe in and out. If you find your mind wandering away from your breath, simply bring it back to noticing each breath in and out as they follow one after the other after the other. And now allow your awareness to expand to encompass your breath moving in your body. Bring your awareness to your thinking and whatever you are feeling emotionally right now. So we're gently broadening this awareness to notice your whole experience, holding everything in awareness. Now, slowly start to bring your attention back to the room. You can slowly open your eyes if they were closed, just taking in the room around you. Notice anything you can see or hear in your space. You can give a little stretch if you need, just coming back. So I hope that you found that helpful. Again, if this is the first time that you're experiencing or practicing something like this, just want to acknowledge that it can be challenging sometimes to get out of the busy mind or to feel like we can fully arrive here, especially because we've been giving you a lot of information. You may still be just even trying to like digest and integrate all of the information that we've been giving you. So feel free to come back to this practice again if you'd like, or even finding your own guided meditation version. There's plenty online that we'll talk about at the end. But this is certainly something that you can practice even in your own time, maybe before bed or just in another moment where you feel like you can settle in. And I'm going to hand it back over to Cody to lead us through our last practice.
Thank you, Sarah, as usual. Very well done. So we are progressing to, well, progressive muscle relaxation exercises. This is an exercise that can help reduce your stress and reduce the tension in your bodies in a very practical way. This is an active meditation practice. As we discussed earlier, when we're stressed, we often experience tension in our bodies. Difficult emotions can also be felt in our bodies, and sometimes we are unaware of just how tense we are. Um, in a progressive muscle relaxation exercise, you tune into your body and you focus on tensing and then relaxing various muscle groups. This helps you become aware of and helps to notice the difference between tension and relaxation. With practice, you become more aware of when you're experiencing tension, and you have the skills and ability to relax and soften those muscles in your body. During this exercise, I will invite you to tense various muscles, but not to the point of strain. So if you have injuries, if you have pain, then perhaps just be aware of the tension that you are experiencing and try not to tighten any areas that may be affected. If anything feels uncomfortable, then you don't need to do it. You need to listen to your body. That is one of the main components of mindfulness. That is one of the main components of that. And so, yes, listen to your body and allow it to do what it wants to do. So we're going to begin by getting comfortable in your space. The fact that we just did another breathing space may be really helpful because you might be already pretty comfortable, already seated or lying down from our prior exercise. If you aren't still, you may return there, and if you are still there, and you are welcome to ensure that you're in a comfortable place to relax without distraction. You may want to silence your phone or dim lights if you have access to do so. You can even cover yourself with a blanket if you want to be cozy. You may close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so, or simply soften your gaze. This is your time for complete and utter relaxation. If you'll allow your hands to loosely lie at your sides, and if your legs are crossed, please uncross them. Now, let's begin by focusing on the breath and noticing your abdomen rise and fall with each breath. Let's take a slow, deep breath in through the nose all the way down to your belly. Hold, and then exhale fully and completely through your mouth. Allow the breath to carry away any stress or tension you may be experiencing at this moment. Take another slow, deep breath in through the nose, filling your lungs. Hold, and then release the breath through your mouth as you empty your lungs completely. And again, we'll take another deep breath through the nose all the way down to your belly, holding, and then as comfortable, releasing the breath. As you breathe, feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation. Continue taking slow, deep breaths, just allowing the breath to flow in and out, returning to the natural rhythm of the breath. There's no need to force or control your breath in any way. As we continue, we'll bring gentle awareness to your feet and your toes. Breathe in deeply through your nose, and as you do, curl your toes down and tense the muscles in the soles of your feet. Hold this and release the muscles in your feet as you exhale fully and completely. For the purposes of this exercise, I will go through each muscle group once, but in many of these practices, they may ask for you to go through them on multiple occasions. So possibly once or twice. So just as another practice, we'll take another deep breath in again. And again, we'll tense the muscles in the soles of your feet by curling the toes down and remembering to release as you exhale. Now, as you go, feel yourself relaxing more and more deeply with each breath. Feel your body soften and melt into your chair or to the floor. Now we bring gentle awareness to your lower legs, to your calf muscles. As you draw a deep breath in through your nose, point your toes up towards your knees and tighten your calf muscles. Hold, and then let these muscles go limp as you exhale fully and completely. And once again, as you take a breath in, tighten the calf muscles, and letting go, letting the muscles relax and soften with each out breath. In a moment, we're going to tense the muscles in the front of your thighs. If you are lying down, you can do this by straightening your legs. You will feel the muscles pulling your kneecaps upwards. If you are seated, you can tense these muscles by pushing your heels down onto the floor. Take a deep breath in and tense the muscles in your thighs. Hold, and then release. Feel the blood flow to your muscles, increasing, and you may even feel a warm, tingling sensation increasing. Savor this feeling of relaxation. Once again, take a deep breath in and tighten the muscles in your thighs. And after holding, now release and allow the muscles to relax and go limp as you exhale. As we draw in another deep breath, we are going to tighten the muscles in your buttocks. We're going to hold this contraction and then release your breath and relax these muscles. Taking another deep breath in, tightening the muscles in your buttocks, holding, and now releasing as you exhale completely. As we take another deep breath, we're going to tighten all of the muscles in your legs from your feet to your calves, thighs, and buttocks. Take a deep breath in and hold. And as you exhale, you can release. And you can feel the tension melting away from your lower body as you sink deeper and deeper into a state of relaxation. Now we'll be bringing awareness to your stomach. Draw another deep breath in and tighten your stomach muscles by imagine you are trying to touch your belly button to your spine. Holding and allowing your abdomen to soften as you exhale, releasing all that tension. As people typically hold a lot of tension in their abdominal muscles, we're going to do that one again. And again, taking a deep breath in and tightening the abdominal muscles, pulling your belly button in towards your spine. And as you release, allowing those muscles to relax. Next, we bring awareness to your back. As you slowly breathe in, arch your back slightly to tighten your back muscles. And after holding, and we let go, relaxing those muscles as you exhale. The back is another very popular place to hold tension. So we're going to take another deep breath in and arch your back, tensing these muscles. And now you release as you exhale, allowing those muscles to relax. We'll now be moving attention to your shoulder muscles and the muscles in your neck. This is an extremely popular place that people experience tension. As you slowly take a deep breath in, pull your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze these muscles. And hold. And now exhale fully and completely and allow your muscles to relax and fall far away from your ears. And again, take another deep breath in while pulling your shoulders up towards your ears. Holding, and as you release, allowing the muscles to go loose and limp as you exhale. As you feel yourself sinking deeper into a state of relaxation, and as the tension melts away, you feel more calm, secure, and peaceful. Now direct your focus to your arms and hands, starting with your upper arms. As we take a deep breath in, raise your wrists towards your shoulders and tighten the muscles in your upper arms. Hold, and then gently lower your arms. Breathe all the way out. Now, you may feel a warm or even a burning sensation in your muscles when you tense them. Notice how they feel when you relax and release the tension when you exhale. Now, we're going to curl the upper arms again. Bring the wrists towards the shoulders as you breathe in and hold. And as you exhale, relax your arms, let them fall by your side. Shift your focus to your forearms. And as you breathe in, curl your hands inwards as though you're trying to touch the inside of your elbows with your fingertips. And hold. And now feel the tension subside as you breathe out and you let your arms relax. Taking another deep breath in and tightening the muscles in your forearms. Pushing the fingertips down and release as you exhale. Feel the tension washing away with the out-breath. As we take another deep breath in, tightly clench your fists and hold. Now release the fist as you exhale. Notice any buzzing or throbbing you may feel, and just allow your hands to relax or soften. Take another breath in and clench your fists again and hold. And then release, letting your fingers and hands go limp. Notice the difference between tension and relaxation as you allow your hands and arms to fall loosely at your side. Take a few more slow, deep breaths as you exhale, and you'll feel your body sinking deeper into a state of relaxation. With these slow breaths, feel the stress and tension melt away. Now, we're going to be focusing on the muscles in your face. By squeezing your eyes shut and clenching your lips together and holding all the muscles in your face, allowing them to be held with great tension, kind of like that. And then on the out breath, allowing those muscles to relax in your face. And again, taking another deep breath in and scrunching the muscles around in your eyes, in your face, and allowing that to relax as you exhale. You may bring attention to the muscles in your jaw. And as in the inhale, you clench your jaw and hold. And as you exhale fully and completely, allow your jaw to open and relax as the tension flows out with your breath. Take another deep breath in, clenching down in your jaw and holding, and then relaxing the jaw as you exhale. All the air out of your mouth and your lungs. Allow your jaw to remain open slightly if you wish. We can expand our field of awareness to your body as a whole, from the top of your head, down your face, your jaw, neck, your shoulders, arms, hands, your chest and your abdomen, your buttocks and your thighs, calves, ankles, and feet, to the very tips of your toes. Take another full deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale fully and completely, allow any remaining tension to leave your body. Now, you are completely relaxed, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. And if you want, you can allow your entire body to go limp. And as you savor this feeling of relaxation, continue to breathe. As you wish, please begin to bring gentle awareness, gentle movement back to your body. Move in a way that feels right for you. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Allow them to readjust to the light. Hopefully you'll feel very refreshed and rejuvenated. And that is a very basic overview of progressive muscle relaxation and the reasons why we do it. If there are any specific areas there that were notable for you, or anything that you felt in particular that there was tension, you can go around in these certain sections, focus on some and not others, emphasize some more in certain periods, certain seasons or times of day, depending on your need. As you can tell, it is very easily adaptable to your needs and the things that your body might be asking for.
Thanks, Cody. That's a great one. I've had feedback from people saying that for some, that's like a very energizing practice for them. And for others, it's very, very relaxing. So it is a great one to do before bedtime. If you feel like and you can do it laying down, you can really just kind of relax and get your body ready for sleep. So if you like to have a guide, like to help you through that, you can look up progressive muscle relaxation probably on YouTube or several different apps. And I'm sure there's all sorts of different lengths and styles that you can find for that progressive muscle relaxation specifically. So that concludes the material for today's program on Introduction to Mindfulness. So again, we really encourage you to practice, as with anything, right? When you're learning it to maybe play a new instrument or learning a sport or any new skill, it does take repetition and practice, consistent practice, before you start to feel like a little bit more comfortable or settled into it. So this is the same, and we hope that you got so much value from it. There is also a resource list that would be part of that link with the handouts that you can refer to for like app suggestions. Insight Timer is always a great one I recommend to people for lots of guided meditations, but there's more on that list. There's some book recommendations and some different websites. So make sure to check out that resource list, as well as the rest of the handouts. So pretty much everything that we shared with you on screen today, you'll have access to, and so that you can refer to again and again as many times as you'd like. You can rewatch this video again, of course. Just again, if you might get something new out of it every time that you watch it, or it might just be a good refresher to come back to every so often, just to kind of help to keep you back on track. Now, we realized that we really did just kind of scratch the surface on mindfulness. That's why it's called an introduction to mindfulness. There's certainly a lot more that we could expand on or spend time with. So, if you do feel like you want to continue down this path of mindfulness and practice it a little bit more, the Thames Valley Family Health Team also offers a longer program called Living Mindfully. So this is a 4-week program that runs once a week for 4 weeks, right? So you get 4 sessions. It is in a group setting though, so it's not recorded. So it would be in a group. This introduction to mindfulness is also offered as a group, so you could also register for that if you'd like. It is basically the same material, but in a group setting. So you get to talk to the facilitators live, and you get to hear from other people's perspectives and some reflections. So feel free to check all of that out on our Thames Valley Family Health Team website under program registrations if you want to attend our group live version of this one or that Living Mindfully one, which is the 4-week. Yeah, so I really encourage you just to really start to put this into practice. Maybe choose 1 or 2 things that you felt like you took away from today and really just start to implement them right away. Make that your uh, action plan or your goal for the week, to really start to get as much value from this as possible. And yeah, if there's any final thoughts from you, Cody.
Nothing that I believe wasn't already said, just as a reminder, for anyone who wants to take this with a bit more fervence to just generally improve your well-being. As a reminder, these are life skills. They have practice applicability in a lot of different circumstances, and the more you practice them, the more helpful they tend to be, the easier they tend to be. That's why things like that 4-week group can be really useful, just as a way to help really set aside some time to practice these things in a really dedicated way. If you find that that is helpful for you. That being said, if you're able to take some of the more informal day-to-day stuff you may have learned from us today, I am obviously always happy to see it. So, yes, excellent.
Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, wishing you well on your own unique mindfulness journeys. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.